So I'm a fan of starting off with video content. Video is the most powerful, right? So one of the great things you can do with content is what's called repurposing. I don't know if there's any Gary Vee fans out there. I'm big into Gary Vee, but he has this really great ebook, How to Create 64 Pieces of Content in One Day. That's a lot of content, right? But you create that from macro content, from big pieces of content. So for starters, every one of us has a phone. So all you need to start is your phone, your iPhone or Android phone, and just start shooting video and start talking about the issues that you're running on or issues that you see within your community. Maybe talk to people in your community and record those conversations, right? Just get started.
Can I pause for a second and just note that we got Brian on here who's getting Congressman Massey on, and our typical lineup includes like homeless people that believe in Bigfoot.
Welcome to the Brian Nichols Show, your source for common sense politics on the We Are Libertarians network. The Brian Nichols Show is the fastest growing liberty podcast that brings together people from all means of political thought as we seek to have meaningful conversations about the issues you care about. At the Brian Nichols Show, our goal is to leave the audience educated, enlightened, and informed. And now your host, Brian Nichols.
Alrighty, welcome folks to today's episode of the Brian Nichols Show. Yes, I am your humble host, Brian Nichols, and I am joined on our Marketing Mondays here with Chris Goyzueta. Thank you for joining us on the episode, folks, and thank you to Chris for joining us on today's, fun-filled episode. Chris Goyzueta, welcome to the program. How you doing, my friend?
Doing great. Excited to be back again.
So excited to have you. We've been hearing nothing but good things, honestly, from your conversations with me, our Marketing Mondays, and then, I don't know, what we're going to call our Sales Mondays with Jeremy Todd. But I've been hearing great things across the board. This conversation about how we can apply marketing to libertarian candidates and just liberty in general. But also sales when we're having these conversations with Jeremy. I know we were talking about objection handling back here last Monday. So today we're focusing back on the marketing side of things and talking about reoccurring content. Now, Chris, first people are like, wait, that's what marketing is? I thought marketing was going out, you get the thing of sticky notes, and then on the side of it, you have the company name. Isn't that marketing? Isn't that, going ahead and getting the bumper stickers and stuff? Or is there something more to this marketing thing when it talks about reoccurring content?
There's many things that come when it comes to marketing, and it's all about building your. I love this book called Guerrilla Marketing from J. Conrad Levinson or Conrad J. Levinson.
Classic.
Yeah, and he talks about he relates everything to warfare, and he talks about building your marketing arsenal, right? So not just having not just having the sticky notes, whatever that has your logo on it, but having your stuff everywhere. And if you're doing marketing online, you want to try to have your content, your company, your brand everywhere. And one of the easiest ways to have your brand everywhere is through recurring content. It's almost like you set me up for that one.
Isn't that funny how that happens? And so your average person is like, well, how do you get reoccurring content started? Because first, how do you get content started? That's usually a lot of people are like, what do I need to go ahead and start creating? Do I need to do the bumper stickers? Do I need to do Facebook ads, YouTube ads? Where do I find people? So the idea of even doing the reoccurring content aspect, it's like, well, how do I first get my foot in the door and get things started? How can somebody, especially candidates, Chris, and this is where we see a lot of candidates have some trouble, is getting stuff out there consistently that's going to constantly keep people interested. And candidly, I'm not going to pick on any candidates, but even some of the candidates that have been on my show, I've gone to their website, and the last time they've done anything in terms of a press release, early May. Right. I'm sorry, let's go. If you are running for office, you need to be at the top of your voters' mind. Yep. But it's tough. Candidly, I get it. It's tough getting the content out there all the time because you want to constantly have fresh ideas. So where can people, I guess, start off, Chris, in finding some content that's relevant that they can share to people that people are actually going to engage in?
It's funny, when you said website, my first thought was, what website? Because someone don't have one. But
God, it kills me.
Anyway, so let's start a little more basic. Let's say what is content, right? What are the different things that you can create? Does it have to be a podcast? Does it have to be a YouTube show? That's one of the best pieces of content, but that's not the only thing that is considered content, right? So
Right.
Content is about creating an experience for your audience or potential audience. And that experience can be created in many different ways. It's video, audio, written, or the main types of content, but there's also in-person events and photography. Those are other elements of content. So with video, you can create a YouTube show, TV show, webinars, right? For someone that's not maybe a candidate that wants to like maybe teach liberty or teach whatever they're in, right? So webinars is a great way to do that. So that'll be video content. You have audio, which is podcasts, music, audiobooks, radio shows, and so on. Then you have the written form, articles, blogs, email newsletters, reports, white papers, books, printed newsletters and magazines, then live events, which is a fun one, concerts, conferences, festivals, maybe one day the Brian Nichols Show live, and photography. Photography is just really taking like photos, if your community maybe or whatever it is that you're trying to create content around. And then the other thing with getting started with content, the thing I always say is don't get precious, right? So there's a really great book called Ready, Fire, Aim, and basically the concept of that book is when you're firing an arrow at a target, you're going to buy all your gear, you're going to take some lessons, and then maybe you buy your own target. And then before you even ever shoot your first arrow, there could be months or years going by before you ever go, right? So ready, fire, aim. So instead of going ready, aim, fire, you flip those and you just go. You do the minimal that you need to get ready and you just go for it. Yeah, and that's the thing. So just go, and then as you are going, and then we kind of talked about that last week or 2 weeks ago a little bit. But as you're going, you kind of just fine tune as you go. So you aim once you're already going. It's almost like you jump out of the plane and you build your parachute as quickly as possible as you're falling.
And it's data, right? Like that's what you're doing in this. So it kind of. So we both collectively read the Undefeated Marketing Systems there from Philip Stutz, and great book, by the way. If you're a candidate out there, or if you're running a candidate's campaign, can't recommend it enough. But one of the things that he discusses is step one. What is it, Chris? Just get data collection, figure out who you're talking to, and he says this is probably the most important thing, and he recommends doing exactly what you're referring to, is just fire some stuff out there. I mean, who better knows who your target audience is than you do as the candidate, or in this case, if you're a liberty advocate, right? Who your market is that you're talking to. But take it a step further, when you're actually going out and talking to people, if you're not getting good feedback, listen, pay attention to that, learn and adapt, and then look to the things, say, oh, that ad over there that we launched is, for whatever reason, getting a lot of traction. Let's go ahead and maybe do a couple more ads like that ad, and maybe a couple, we'll do, variant A, variant B, variant C of the ad, and we'll see which one starts to pick up more. And then you can start to tailor your messaging more precise, but also you can figure out more and more in tune who's actually looking at your ads, who's paying attention, who's the actual person you're now speaking to. Is it the person you thought that you were going to be speaking to at the beginning? Or is it going to be a brand new person that you didn't expect to be speaking to in the first place? That's going to be important, and I think a very big aha moment for a lot of folks. And I mean, Chris, you've heard the Sunday Candidate Highlight series. We have tons of candidates on the show, and I've heard a lot of candidates who I'll ask them, who's your typical demographic you're aiming for? Who's your voter? And they'll tell you they know without a doubt who it is. But very few candidates have I heard that actually have articulated, based on just talking to their voters, what their top of mind issues are, and that's who they're trying to address. It's not, these are the issues I'm concerned about, and I'm looking for those people who believe what I believe, but rather, what are the issues people care about, and how can I mirror what they care about with libertarian, or in this case, liberty ideas as solutions to those problems, and enter into those conversations they're having with the solutions to the problems they're seeing right before them?
Yeah, I mean, data is the most important thing to really help you figure out what to create your content around, right? But when you're first starting out, you don't really have any data yet. So once you launch, once you go, you have data. That's for example, for your podcast, we can dig through, I think it's 258 episodes now, and we can see what are the most downloaded episodes, and then we can see, okay, if we had more episodes around those topics, we can probably get our listenership up even more, right? So when you're first starting out, you should know your target customer, your ideal audience, this well. So if they walk into a mall, that's the example I always use, and the mall can have whatever stores you want. You make up the stores, doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be a specific kind of mall. But when they walk in, where is the first place they have to go to, right? Is it Urban Outfitters? Is it Bass Pro Shop? Is it Macy's? Where is the first place they have to go? And then let's say they're hungry. Once they leave that store and they go to the food court or the restaurant area, where are they going to eat? Are they going to grab something quick, or do you want to have a sit-down meal with a server and everything? And they go to that favorite store when there's all those little things at the checkout counter, all those little impulse buys they try to get you with to try to upsell you a little bit more. Are they going to pick up anything there? And what is it that they're picking up from those impulse buys? And then while they're walking through the mall, are they on their phone, or do they have their headphones in just listening to a podcast, which is what I do. I just listen to podcasts while I'm walking through the mall.
You know, really quick, Chris, you know what's funny? I literally, before we recorded here today, I was at the grocery store, and I was standing in line at the checkout line. And this literally exact thing you're referring to just happened today. I was standing and I'm looking at when you're at like the beep area, and you have like right there the quick buy area.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just curious to your point, how they arrange things, and I was like, I wonder if there's a theme I can identify. And I noticed what they did was on the very, very top, you had your Tic Tacs, your gum, the low ticket, I'd say like the 99 cents dollar items.
Right.
Then the bottom shelves, like where the kids would be, you had more of like the fun stuff. Like you had the Toy Story, toys, and the Star Wars toys, and like the candy that's the toy oriented. And then in the middle kind of section, you had your Snickers, your Reese's, but they were the more higher ticket priced items. And I was like, how about that? They everything is at a spot for a reason. And I was like, the reason must be kids can see that down there easier. Yeah. Your parent is going to be probably looking at the whatever ad is in the National Enquirer or the hell they have now. And they look tabloids. Up and the tabloids. And what do they see right there? They see a Reese's peanut butter cup. And then when they look at that, they're like, it's going to make my breath smell. And then right there is the mints. Great. Yeah. Okay. And it's like that. It's all calculated.
Oh, yeah.
It's all planned. And like to pretend that it's all by accident. It's like you're living in fantasy world and being completely naive,
Yeah. And another way you can get more data, right? And that stuff is totally calculated. My wife works in a very popular store, and they know their customers so well. They know exactly what to put in that checkout line, and it works. But if you don't have that data yet, right? So what you can do is look at similar companies or similar influencers or similar YouTube channels, podcasts, and kind of dig through there. So it's what I call doing a little bit of a stalking, right? So like if you want to find similar fans to the Brian Nichols Show, then you would go on Twitter, see who's engaging with Brian, who's liking his comments and his tweets, and then dig through the cool kids. Yeah, and then dig through those people's profiles. What are those people talking about? What are they posting about, right? And that's how you can find data about your audience. So you have to do some homework. You can't just say, my target audience is exactly like me, because it may be nothing like you. So you have to do your research and do a little bit of stalking to find your audience.
Yep. No, I like that. And for candidates, let's kind of go back to away from the targeting specifically who you want to talk to. Mm-hmm. And now let's just assume for example, Chris, we have the content, we know what we're producing, we know what's going to drive people, not just to get their eyeballs, but actually to make some actionable steps. So now let's go back to the topic of today's conversation, reoccurring content. So how can we now take what we've learned from creating content and apply it in a reoccurring content specifically for candidates? And let's maybe go through the 4 areas that we talked about earlier: videos, pictures, written, and live events. So let's kind of start from the top there for candidates. Videos, reoccurring content, Chris G.
So I'm going to do the candidate thing. I'm going to dodge the question for a second.
Damn it, Chris. We're not that kind of show.
Because I prepped some notes.
Okay.
So I guess it's continuing to sell you on content, right? What are some of the most successful companies or people that you think of, or most influential companies or people that you can think of? Name me a couple.
Off the top of my okay, so for people, let's do Elon Musk.
Okay.
He's popular. Companies, Apple.
Okay.
Is that good? You want more?
Give me one more.
Okay, for companies, let's do Walmart.
Walmart, okay.
And then I don't know, Epic Games.
Epic Games, okay.
By the way, I tweeted about this. They've been doing crazy stuff with marketing for Fortnite. So just like we can learn a lot from watching how Epic Games has created an empire by using marketing and creating one of the most popular and most iconic brands in America over the past 5 years or so, and that is Fortnite. So I would say like let's do maybe Fortnite or Fortnite as a brand or Epic Games as a company. And then for another famous person, I do Warren Buffett. Why not? People know who he is. Or at least they know his name, right?
So almost every single one of those that you just named, I mean, I can't think of Walmart, but almost every single one of them are content creators, right? So Fortnite, video games, that's a piece of content, and all the different videos they create around Fortnite and everything, all the characters and everything, that's all content. Warren Buffett, I mean, Berkshire Hathaway, the famous investor letters. I mean, if you want to be an investor and you want to learn about investing, then you need to subscribe to the Berkshire Hathaway letters, right? I mean, iconic letters. And then they have books, they have lectures on investing, right? And other companies, so you mentioned Apple, I mean, they have Apple TV shows, other influential companies and people is Disney, Amazon, Netflix, Google, YouTube. I wrote WWE because, you know, I've got to throw my wrestling there. the Rock and $7 Entertainment. When it comes to the political world, I mean, the top 100 podcasters, Ben Shapiro, Dan Bongino, Louder with Crowder, Rachel Maddow, Adam Carolla, right? Pod Save America. I mean, these are top 100 podcasts, not even just within politics or news. They're of all podcasts. I mean, these are very, very influential people. So that's another reason why recurring content is so important.
So that was that was you little sly dog. You didn't answer my question by doing your own thing, and now you threw me off. So how about this? Let's kind of turn it. Okay, so that was more specifically the value from those companies, right? Let's specifically now like narrow it down for candidates, right?
Okay.
When we're looking at candidates, let's give some real practical advice, because this is where they'll be like, okay, this is great. You guys are talking about the top companies in the entire world who have quite literally millions of dollars at their disposal to play around, do market research, test things, and see what works. And I'm sorry, I am a candidate. I don't have an ocean of money to pick from and just toss it at different ideas. I need to know what I can do that works. So how about this, Chris? Let's give our candidates out there some practical, maybe one or two things they can start to do right now from a reoccurring content standpoint, just to get the ball rolling.
Right. So I'm a fan of starting off with video content. Video is the most powerful, right? So one of the great things you can do with content is what's called repurposing. I don't know if there's any Gary Vee fans out there. I'm big into Gary Vee, but he has this really great ebook, How to Create 64 Pieces of Content in One Day. That's a lot of content, right? But you create that from macro content, from big pieces of content. So for starters, every one of us has a phone. So all you need to start is your phone, your iPhone or Android phone, and just start shooting video and start talking about the issues that you're running on or issues that you see within your community. Maybe talk to people in your community and record those conversations, right? Just get started.
Just a picture. I mean, by the way, I just went to the LP of Delaware, Liberty Speaks event, and I was literally in my car, and I had to leave because I had dinner with friends in Philly, and it was like an hour and a half, 2-hour drive. And I had to get going, and I was looking forward to meeting Spike Cohen face to face, because we're good buddies off air. And I texted him and said, "Hey man, what's your ETA?" He's like, "I'm gonna be there in 10 minutes. I'll hang out." So I hung out, and got together, got to see each other IRL. Do kids say that anymore? Sorry, in real life for the Gen Z who just cringed.
I guess I'm not cool. I haven't even heard of that.
Gen Z probably just cringed and died too. They're like, please stop, Brian. But no, and then I was like,
go targeting Gen Z audience.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry, guys. But then I was like, he's like, hey, Brian, let's get a picture. And I was like, great, yeah, let's get a picture. And I didn't even think about it. Like, then when I posted, the part with the BFF next to it, and then he calls me Physic from The Princess Bride, Andre the Giant's character, and I was like, "Does anybody want a peanut?" But that was like, that's content. I didn't even think about it, but I didn't even realize. But that's, for me, that was just sharing a great opportunity to meet a friend. But like, for other people, other people out there, it is content. It's weird. The things that we don't think as content, for other people or for your followers or for, in this case, if you're a candidate, for your constituents, it might be content. It's you being human. And I guess it's weird. Us in 2021, I didn't mean to derail your train of thought, Chris, but like maybe us being human in 2021 is content, right? Like people are looking for this authenticity that you're a real person, and they're just tired of being intentionally and knowingly sold to. Like you don't want to see your YouTube influencer influencing them anymore. They want to see the person actually out there being a real person and interacting with real people.
Yeah. I was like what we talked about last week about 2 weeks ago in the branding episode, right?
Yeah.
You want to humanize the brand, like
right.
a real person. And then you also want to become a leader or influencer within your category, right? So recurring content is a great way to become, another one of my favorite books, Become Known, a book by Mark W. Schaefer, amazing marketer. But recurring content is a great way to get people to know who you are. It's a way to become a voice in your category. If you have, hopefully when you're doing regular weekly podcasts or a YouTube channel, you're doing some research about what you're talking about, or you already have a lot of knowledge that you're passing on and sharing. So you have done the homework. And then if and people can read through the BS real quickly. So if you have done your homework, you've done the research, and you have knowledge of what you're talking about, then people are going to listen. And now when you bring in other experts within your field, people are going to pay attention even more. And now you're someone that can attract these experts. So they're like, wow, if this person can bring this person on their podcast, like they must be someone within their category. So now you start becoming known.
Case study. The Brian Nichols Show.
Yeah.
I mean,
did anybody know who you were before?
I mean, so I was a sales guy. I was involved in politics. I started writing at the Libertarian Republic. I was a guest on the We Are Libertarians network, but then I got my show. Thank you, Chris Spangle. And he's probably like, damn that Brian Nichols. No, I'm just teasing. But I get my show, and then I'm like, well, I can have people on the show. We can have conversations about issues that people care about. But then it was like, how do people give you credibility? And my first, like, quote unquote, big guest was Dean Clancy. Dean was a former Reagan policy advisor back during the 80s. And then I think he actually served under Bush Senior. I might be wrong there and maybe talking out of turn. But then he was the vice president for Freedom Works. And he was on the show and, talked about, I think at that point in time, we're talking about what was the role of political parties, and came to talk about the Libertarian Party. And that was like episode, I don't know, like 12, something. I don't know. It was early in the episodes. And if people want to go ahead and actually check that episode out, briannicholsshow.com, and check out the episodes, you can scroll all the way back and catch, what'd you say, 258 episodes?
So,
why am I tired again? I forget. So
four times a week.
Yeah. And then Tom Woods is like getting ready to celebrate his 2000th episode here in a couple of months. And I'm like, oh yeah, I have a couple of decades to go before I catch Tom. But going back, where the hell were we going? I'm sorry.
We were talking about this is a great way to become known and to grow an audience.
So having Dean on, and then I was like, oh, well, not only was it a great resource for my audience, but I got a lot out of it too. And it just happened to kind of correlate that when he shared the episode, he was now reaching out to his network of people. So that opened up a possibly new opportunity for me to reach those people and say, oh, maybe there's somebody that he knew, and almost like it's almost networking in a way, that he knew that I could reach out to in contact and leverage that relationship to have them on the show and have a conversation. And it just kind of you're familiar, you're a fan of The Office, that's right. So remember the episode of The Office when Dwight Dwight starts out with, what is it, a candle or something, and he's getting ready to trade it up throughout the garage sale, right? Like that's
magic bean.
And then it's the magic bean. That's right. But that's basically like what I did in terms of like reaching up to candidates like Justin Amash. Like Justin Amash, he went and he switched from GOP to Libertarian. Or no, at the time actually. Here's the thing. He said he was going to vote to impeach Trump. That's what it was. And I was the first show that had him on post him saying it. And like CNN reached out and he didn't respond to them. MSNBC had reached out and didn't respond. But he was on my show. And I was like, awesome. Interesting. And that's all back to your point. It goes back to, if you can build up this kind of sense of showing that you do not just create value, but then are bringing in people of value.
Yeah.
That is huge.
It's massive. And the thing I always say, you never know who's watching or who you're impacting, right?
1,000%. Yes.
Right. One great thing that happened to me on my show. I mean, when you look at the downloads and the data, it all looks like numbers. Like,
right.
Okay, this week we had 500 people listening, 600 next week, right? This episode had this many, blah, blah. All just looks like numbers, but you don't really know who are these people that are actually watching. And if you have influential people on your show, you're probably going to have influential people listening. So one of the craziest things that happened to me, this is more in the music world, but Derek Sivers is the founder of CD Baby. So CD Baby is, back in the day, was the only way independent artists could get their music online. Otherwise, you would have to have a major record label deal.
No Napster?
no Napster. Well, that was before CD Baby. But so CD Baby was the way you could sell your music online. And then he sold a company and retired, has done a lot of amazing things. He's become an author. He's been on the Tim Ferriss show a few times. And I get an email one day from Derek Sivers. I actually ignored the email because this has got to be just some spam thing from CD Baby. And then, a few weeks go by and I open it. I'm like, wait, is this the actual guy? And he's just like saying, hey, good job with the podcast. Keep up the great work. And I replied like, thanks so much. You want to be on the show one day? And he's like, let's do it. So I had Derek Sivers on the show, who's been on the Tim Ferriss show and many other massive podcasts, and is this really big influencer in the music and creative world. And he was listening.
That's so cool.
You never know, right? Yes, that's why you had Justin Amash and Thomas Massey and a lot of big guests on the show, and they're gonna keep getting bigger and bigger doing what you're doing.
Recurring content. It's something we all do, whether we realize it or not. Whether you're a candidate, whether you're a liberty activist, whether you are, little Bill or Susie back in your hometown, you are doing something. If you have a Twitter, a Facebook, an Instagram, there's something that you do consistently that your fans, your followers, your friends have grown and accustomed to expect because it's you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I think, if we're as we're getting ready to go towards more the end of the show, Chris, is when you're producing content, always focus not just on producing content that your audience will enjoy hearing, right? But also that is authentically you. You need to bridge those two worlds. If you're just going out and speaking to your audience and telling them exactly what they want to hear, it's going to become like just white noise. You need to stand out in your authenticity, catch them to say, ooh, this is something that I want to learn more about, and then actually get them to ask you to tell them more. And then that's when we can make that conversion, right? It goes from the marketing mode into the sales mode. And then you start to go through the sales cycle, and then they've added to your funnel at that point. And that's the goal, right? That's the vision of why, and this is why we've been doing this marketing and sales combination of the shows. And I've been thinking what we should probably do, Chris. We need to do maybe like once a quarter. And maybe we can do this for the Patreon subscribers too. This is actually like us just like kind of brainstorming here on the show. Yeah. Like do like a big episode for, you, me, and Jeremy, and just
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, like a marketing sales crossover, because here's the dirty rotten secret, folks. And Chris, I would love to hear your thoughts here. This is how libertarians are gonna win.
Yeah.
Like it's
absolutely.
one thing to go out, win these local elections through the grassroots, go out, knock on doors. Like, yes, do that. That works. Like, go do what Young Americans for Liberty is doing and knock on, I think it was like 12,000 doors that Eric Brakey said they did down in Texas for concealed carry. Go knock on 6,000 doors with Sam Robb here in Pennsylvania for Tim McMaster. Like, go do that. But also, we need to start to utilize the tools and the resources that are out there that the large political organizations are already using, number one, but number two, that all the organizations that are out there from the business side of things are also utilizing, and we can learn from that, take what we know will work and apply it from a local candidate perspective and actually start to make a difference. Chris, what are your thoughts in terms of actually taking some of those, some of the things that the big guys are doing that we can maybe bring down to a micro level that's easy to implement right now? I know that's like off the top of your head too. So if you're like, oh, I don't know, don't worry. But I'm just curious. Do you have any thoughts there?
Well, so last time we talked about using like more of a punk rock approach, right, or rock and roll approach to running as libertarian candidates, because we don't have the money and the resources that Democrats and Republicans have, and we need to.
We don't have our Coke dollars pouring in at the moment for some reason. I was told that we control everything, and yet my bank account says otherwise.
We just cheat. No, just kidding. But we gotta basically use a rock and roll approach and just do things differently than everybody else is doing. I think yes, some of them are doing content, but not a lot of them are great. So let's become great content creators and really dive deep into our communities. Whatever issue that impacts your community the most, talk to people in those industries, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be an all politics podcast. If you live in a community or a district that is big on farming or big on police or whatever it is, talk to people in those categories. And then, in terms of like becoming known and making a difference as a candidate, a success story. I mean, I wrote down one, and I texted you about it before we started recording, but which candidate in 2020 had the biggest impact in the election? So I don't know if I know Ricky Harrington had the most votes out of a Senate candidate, but he also didn't have another Democrat running. So out of the candidates that had a Democrat and a Republican running, Shane Hazel had probably the biggest impact because he forced a runoff. One that probably looked like the Republican was going to win, and then in the runoff, the Purdue won, or Ossoff won, who's a Democrat. So he really changed the outcome of that election and got a lot of hate mail out of it. But it's the recurring content, right? He became a voice for his state and for his community. And that's how big of an impact you can have. And I think people like him and Dave Smith are just going to have a bigger impact in coming years.
Rand Paul jumped on his show, on Shane's show during the time that it was going from the actual general election to the runoff. And basically Rand was like, Shane, stop. And like, what a great opportunity for the big L, truly the big L libertarians to say no. Like, Rand, like, no, like you are the libertarian in the Senate as a Republican. Now he doesn't say he's a big L libertarian or really a little L libertarian, but of all the senators we have out there, easily has the most small L libertarian sentiments, right? But like, this is the chance for us to say, listen, you Republicans want to say that you're going to govern like libertarians when you have control of Congress. Well, guess what? You had control of the Congress from 2016 to 2018, and you did diddly poo with it. So why am I going to go ahead and trust you guys with, was it Kelly Loeffler and who was the other?
Purdue.
David Purdue. That's right. Like, why am I going to go ahead and trust these two? And this was Shane's point. They are two of the most liberal Republicans and just two of the most liberal members of the entire U.S. Senate. What are we doing? Why are we sacrificing our principles to get these two candidates in office when you're saying we're going to hold back the liberal Democrat socialist takeover of America when for the 2 years you guys actually had control of stuff? What'd you do? You just decided, are we going to spend, $3 trillion this year, $4 trillion? How much more should we tax? Like, it wasn't you guys trying to actually restrain things. It was just a matter of like, how little are we going to grow this year? It's never a matter of the conversations, what are we going to cut? It's a matter of, well, how much are we going to throttle the spending, the growth? Are we going to scale it back to 3% growth or 2% growth, or from 12% growth to 10% growth? It's like, it's still growing. What? Sorry, that was a rant.
That's all good. And the other like big last final sales pitch on recurring content, right? It's a great way to keep fans and your audience interested and engaged. I mean, it builds community. And then content marketing comes out of like, the loyalty space of industries. So it creates a loyal audience. The more you show up for them and the more consistently you show up, even if you show up several times a week or daily, it creates a community around what you're doing. And these people, when you start doing live events, these people are not just excited to see you, but they're also excited to see each other at these live events. And even the music industry, the world that I come from, completely shifted their approach. It used to be an album every 2 to 3 years. Now artists are putting out singles almost every month because they have to stay consistent in today's world and stay relevant. Some artists, I can go off of music forever, but Chainsmokers, they started doing this thing. So they signed with a major label, traditional thing, put out an album every 2-3 years. They put out an album, hated the process because they used to do nothing but singles, and they started doing what's called building an album. So he released a single in January, then February the single becomes part of the 2020 album, now has 2 songs on it. In March they released a third one, now it becomes a 3-song album, right? So again, you're consistently showing up for your fans, building a community, and that's how you build a loyal customer. I mean, I've signed up for Tom Woods' newsletter 10 times because I want every single ebook he has to offer. Like he's the one that's doing it great in the liberty space, and that is why he is probably the highest ranked libertarian political podcast. I know some of these other guys are actual libertarians. I know Ben Shapiro claims he's libertarian, but I'll say Tom Woods is the highest libertarian podcast.
The audio listener can't see my wincing face. And I listen to Shapiro regularly because I gotta stay up to date with what his perspectives are.
Right.
The whole his whole foreign policy perspective.
Yeah.
Like my dude. But hey, you were talking about bands, and instantly, I mean, who's my favorite band? Chris.
AJR.
There we go. Yep. And I was thinking because they just did this with their OK Orchestra album. So they released Bummerland early 2020, right? Everybody knows Bummerland. Bummerland, here I am. And then they released Bang. Was it Bang? Yeah, Bang came out then. After that, everybody knows Bang, 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 Bang. Here we go. And then Way Less Sad, another classic. I say classic because it came out a year ago. Right. Classic in my book. So they had Way Less Sad. And then fast forward, I think after that was a cumulative 7-8 months, then the OK Orchestra album comes out in its entirety with those 3 songs layered in, to your point, as part of the overall album. Mm-hmm. And then throughout that time, they're doing, I forget the lead musician's name. I have a friend named Nate, and he looks just like him. So I call him Nate.
How dare you call yourself a fan?
I know, I'm terrible. I'm terrible with names. It's I'm that meme. It's like, hi, I'm John. Hi, John. And then the name goes in and it gets pushed out by Office references. That's my life. So I'm terrible with names. But literally he'll go through and show you how he writes the music. Here's how I got the song from, a thought in my head to now, it's 300 layered tracks on his GarageBand, on his Apple computer. And he'll go through and he'll show you how he does it. I think that kind of stuff is so cool. You'll get the behind the scenes videos. And right there, what are they doing? They're giving me content. They're giving me things that I'm not asking for necessarily, but my goodness, I'm engaging in it because I'm getting value out of it. Yeah. And that right there speaks to exactly the model that we're talking about, the model candidly we're doing here at the show that has been working, that we are imploring candidates, please. These are very practical, easy to implement steps you can do right now. Today. Exactly. It's just like this ebook here, scrolling at the bottom of the page, 4 easy steps you can implement now to sell liberty to friends and family. These aren't things that are pie in the sky, abstract ideas. They are concrete, easy to implement, simple things you can do right now. So do them. And if you want to learn more, as we're going towards the end here, Chris, folks, please, one of 2 things. Number 1, if you have not yet, hit subscribe to the show because, this is the kind of stuff we're talking about here on the regular at the program. But number 2, patreon.com/The Brian Nichols Show. This is where we're going to be having more of these in-depth sales conversations. Right now, we're building up this base, right? We're building up the content that we're going to be pumping out there. And to that point, we're going to be having conversations with you and Jeremy, yours truly, having masterminds. I'm looking to get some pretty noted guests here in the Liberty movement who are very well versed in sales and marketing, having roundtable conversations with them. So again, if you're interested, it's $5 a month, $10 a month. Either way, though, everybody gets, what is it, Chris? One of these awesome, don't hurt people, don't take people's stuff bumper sticker. That's right.
In there.
Yeah, yours is in there. That's right. But also, Chris, have you had the chance yet to check out the brand new the Proud Libertarian store?
I have. You have some really, really cool merch on there. And maybe next time I'll be wearing one of those shirts because you have some really, really cool. I mean, I looked at the store, I'm like, man, it's not which shirt do I want to buy, but I mean, how many shirts will my wife let me buy? For our audio listener, I'm sorry, you guys got to head over to the YouTube right now. You can see this, right, Chris? I can see it.
Yeah, look at this stuff. You got. All right, so first of all, this Life Gets Better shirt. By the way, this is so much easier to go through this store because I can actually explain some of the stuff. The Life Gets Better shirt, that was from our dear friend Remzo Martinez. He tweeted Life Gets Better, and it was it was snarky in some response, but it was 100% a great like great end of his tweet. And I said, you need to put that on a shirt or I will. And he said, go for it. And I said, okay.
Awesome.
And then I sent him the screen grab of it and he goes, wait, really? And then he sent me the receipt of him ordering it. So thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. My cool mask, bro. Sure. I designed. I was like, come on, because I mean,
I would just Alexa overthrow the government.
I love that one. Yeah, and the Google one too, the Google version. But yeah, I just went to the store today. I went grocery shopping, and I'm walking through Acme. Now I know people before I tweeted about Whole Foods. I get it. Whole Foods, pretentious. I understand. Acme. I went to Acme. And like, I'm still here in the greater Philly area, and that's actually outside of Philadelphia at this point. At the Acme, there probably 90% of the people are wearing masks still.
Really?
Still.
Wow.
I'm like, what's happening? I just saw that. Did you see the Gallup poll? 71% of Democrats say that we need to still have restrictions in place for COVID.
What
world is this?
Yeah.
Go look outside in reality and get off of turn off your TV. Number one, turn off the CNN. Like, good God.
Did I tell you about my drive from Louisiana back to Orlando?
No.
So in Louisiana, it's like absolutely no masks. Mississippi, it's like 10% masks. And Alabama is like 15% masks. Florida Panhandle, like 20% masks. You get to Orlando, Florida, it's like 80% masks.
Really?
It's insane.
I just don't. For the people, and trust me, if you want to wear a mask, please wear a mask. But if you're gonna say that you're the party of science, please, you cannot say you're the party of science and then go out and say that we need to have, 71% of Democrats say we need to have restrictions still in place. Like, I'm sorry, that's absolute insanity. But that was our Proud Libertarian store, by the way. This is a new shop that we've been doing a partnership with Proud Libertarian. I'm super excited to have them as a part of the network. So if folks are interested, you can head over to proudlibertarian.com /the Brian Nichols Show shop. But we're going to make it easier because we have an easier link for you. It's briannicholsshow.com /shop. Boom. Easy. Brian Nichols Show /shop. Also, if you head over to briannicholsshow.com, go to the top, you'll see the reviews page. Click reviews. I have made it super, super easy for you to go ahead and leave a 5-star rating and review. All you have to do, go to that reviews page, and it literally pops up. Go ahead, give a quick 1 sentence. Why do you listen to the Brian Nichols Show? Or what value do you get from the program? 5 stars, boom. And why is that valuable? Because, Chris, what does it do? It tells a story. That's right. People like hearing stories.
Story builds a community.
Boom. Stories build community. And then I can share your story with other folks out there. And I'll make sure if you do go ahead, that 5-star rating and review, be sure to check your social medias and be sure to go ahead and subscribe to yours truly at B Nichols Liberty, Twitter, Facebook, Minds.com, and Parler.com. So I'll make sure I tag you in said sharing of your 5-star rating and review. By the way, just so folks aren't missing it, Chris, where is your social media so folks can go ahead and follow you?
So I'm at makingitwithchrisg.com, and all the social media links are there. It's basically Making It Chris G on all the social media links, except for Instagram. There it is, Making It with Chris G. But just go to the website and you'll find all the links there.
And by the way, you host an awesome podcast. Please, I don't think I've given you a chance beyond your first episode here when you were not yet a part of the network to discuss your show, Making It with Chris G. Dig into what's happening over on your show every single episode.
Sure, yeah. So on the audio version, it's a music business podcast, a music business and marketing podcast. So we're diving into all areas of the music industry. It's called Making It with Chris G. We talk to agents, promoters, managers, we talk about copywriting, publishing, we talk about marketing, and it's not just people in the music world, because as I always preach, you got to dive outside of your world.
Yep.
So when I want to bring in a marketer, do I bring in a music marketer? Sure, sometimes, but I'm trying to bring in the best marketers, right? So I had actually Joe Polizzi from Content Inc. on the show, and then
he's great. I love Joe.
He's awesome. And then I'm starting to expand on the YouTube channel. I've asked you about this, and you said put it behind a paywall, but you know what I'm saying? Screw it. So once or twice a month, we're gonna do Liberty sessions instead of a jam session. And we're going to talk to people in the Liberty world that are creatives. And the first one I'm blanking on the name, but the guys that are making the documentary on lockdowns.
Oh, Soundmind Creative Group, gents. Soundmind
Creative Group, yes. That's going to be the first episode. I thought that I was going to do one why I'm starting this series, but I thought their stories are way more important than mine. So I'm putting them first, and then I'll be next, and hope to be talking to lots of musicians in the Liberty world. That'll be the focus.
And by the way, this episode here, as we're recording, is going to air on the 7th, Monday of June. The episode I actually recorded with the gentleman from the Soundmind Creative Group. That episode is going to be airing on the 16th. And
Awesome.
by the way, the documentary is Follow the Science on Liberty and Lockdowns. I cannot support and recommend these guys enough. And like, that's not just something that I'm saying because they've been on the show. It's because this is something across the board that is still impacting people right now. And in that Gallup poll, where 71% of Democrats said that they still want to have restrictions due to COVID-19, 64% of independents said that we need to lift restrictions. So I don't know. That sounds like a target market. I don't know. Maybe we should talk to those people. Oh, gosh, it drives me crazy, Chris. We unfortunately are here hard pressed for time. So with that being said, Chris Goyzueta, thank you for joining the show. And folks, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. Coming up here on Wednesday, we are joined by the ever amazing Jess Mears. She is the Clubhouse queen, and she has been doing all things Clubhouse conversations with folks like Justin Amash, Dave Smith, Spike Cohen, and more, having great conversations and networking, but also bridging the world of having conversations with each other, but as a collective group. How can libertarians enter into Clubhouse and learn how to use Clubhouse to our advantage to build those raving fans and that raving fan community that will market our liberty for us? So with that being said, thank you for joining us here on today's episode of The Brian Nichols Show. So that being said, it's Brian Nichols signing off here for Chris Goyzueta. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.